I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. Another Buzz Bars event means another excuse to head back out, and this one will see us return to Pennsylvania for a Philadelphia bar crawl and Dorney Park. But there'd be more to the arrival day, joining some friends to visit a very popular family-owned amusement park. Beyond Stumble in the Hole, my 2024 travel plans saw a number of changes as I adapted them based on finding a better source of income for the off-season from a new substitute school bus driving role. Originally, I anticipated that the next event I'd be able to make was Top Thrill Stumble at Cedar Point in July. But as I began finding a nice flow between classes and work in the end of the winter quarter and beginning of spring, I realized I could squeak in a few additional adventures. And so Wobble on that JAWN was added to my calendar. At first, my plan was to land in Philadelphia the morning of the bar crawl and explore the city, as I'd only seen bits and pieces of it over the years. Then hit that evening's bar crawl with the club and join everyone the next day at Dorney Park on Saturday. Then wrap up the weekend with a Sunday visit to Dutch Wonderland, exploring a few nearby attractions, and going for a third try to ride Oscar's Wacky Taxi at Sesame Place. Those Friday plans would change though, because my friends Sean and Doug shared their plans to hit Knoebels. So the new plan for the first day was to pick up Sean in Philly after his bus ride from New York, then we'd roll up to Ellisburg to catch up with Doug at the park. With some more firm plans in place, I decided to use some of my Alaska miles for a red-eye flight with American Airlines direct to Philly, rather than chancing arriving much later because of going standby. Unfortunately, there'd be a massive delay to my flight to Philadelphia, as it would be nearly 3.5 hours later than scheduled, but the bright side is that gave me a chance to work on an assignment for my video class that would be due right after the weekend, so I wouldn't have to panic about getting it done when I got back home. Once that was all squared away, it was about time for me to head over to SeaTac, which had been really getting hit hard with a ton of construction.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with some big event that's coming up here in a couple of years. I think it's called the World Cup. Sounds like a big deal.
And while construction typically is just a minor inconvenience, I worried that it might be affecting the operations of the airport more than anticipated.
I really hope that's just an error, because if that's actually the case, this continues to be a terrible day.
But there seemed to be some truth to what the screen said, as the biggest checkpoints were all boarded up. Luckily though, there was a sign of hope.
Man, I was about to have a panic attack because I thought they were literally closed all the way. But no, just part of the construction.
Seeing the extended queue for one of the security checkpoints started to give me flashbacks to that time in Amsterdam. But I luckily wouldn't have to worry about that thanks to TSA PreCheck, which was no longer available for the night.
Well, PreCheck is closed for the night, so thanks, American.
To make matters worse, my flight was slated for one of the South Satellite gates, which is only accessible by the terminal shuttle.
Oh, I swear to 6-pound, 5-ounce baby Jesus. Oh, okay, that's not so bad.
A little bit of extra walking due to various construction projects, but even with a reduced service, the shuttle was at least still accessible.
And I'm starting to realize with all the things that are going on here at SeaTac Airport, maybe it's not so bad that this year's been lighter on travel so far. Give them a chance to fix up some things here.
Since I was a good bit ahead of the new scheduled departure, this would have been a great time to use my priority pass to visit the club at SEA Lounge.
Unfortunately, it's not an option because it's closed. Thanks, American.
So I went and did the next best thing and dropped a few bucks for a massage chair. As our departure time was getting closer, I became a bit concerned because there was still no plane, and one of the flight tracking websites was showing that the flight was departing from the D gates, which led me to believe we might be facing a bit of a conundrum as the shuttle had just closed for the night. It turned out though that our plane was just a smidge further behind than anticipated, and once it pulled up, the crews got it ready to go and boarding began. After a long delay, I was happy to be in the air and headed for Philly, so it was time to try and get some shut-eye.
I'm generally a pretty patient guy, but considering how delayed today has been already, and knowing where the rental car facilities are here in Philadelphia, basically on the other side of the garages, I think I'm just gonna walk.
Getting over to Budget though, there was a pretty long line, and as I got into it, I noticed signage about Budget's fast brake system, which I forgot that I joined making this reservation, meaning that I could check in online and head right out to one of the cars that matches the category that I booked.
The wonders of quick, expedited service helps to make up for the long delay, but now it's time to go and find Sean so we can head up north to Ellisburg.
With Sean taking a bus into Philly from New York, I had to make a quick drive into downtown to pick him up, and then from there, we made our way up north to Ellisburg, catching up with Doug for an afternoon at Knoebels. It's been a hot minute since my last visit here, as I had only been once before back in 2006, and there's been a few additions in that nearly 18-year gap. But we began our riding with a lap on an absolute classic in Phoenix. A Herbert Schmeck wooden coaster that has often been among the highest rated wooden coasters in the world because of its classic feel and abundance of airtime. Admittedly though, our ride didn't quite live up to my previous rides when I was here before, but I blame that more on the tight fit because I'm a bigger rider. So I didn't quite get the full benefit of the buzz bar like Sean and Doug did. With a lap on one of my previously ridden coasters here, I was ready for a new addition, which came with a ride on Black Diamond. A unique Philadelphia Toboggan Company creation, which can best be described as an indoor wooden wild mouse with a number of funky animatronics that once ran on the Jersey Shore at Wildwood's Dinosaur Beach. It's a bit tame as you hit a ton of trim brakes throughout, but it is a ride that can offer some laughs. Another addition since my last visit is a nod to a classic ride that was extremely rare, and that was Flying Turns. This in-house built ride was based upon wooden variations of bobsled coasters, but unlike the more modern steel ones made by Mach or Intamin, the turns on this are incredibly tight, and you whip through them much more quickly in the shorter 3-car train. This ride seemed like it had no business being as fun as it was, but I absolutely adored it.
I kind of love seeing this sign behind me here that says they told us we couldn't build it and we did it anyway, especially because of the fact that the last time I was at this park was when they first started to build this thing, and for those who know, this ended up being a pretty long project of about 6 years to finish. Nobody knew at the time it was going to take that long, but lo and behold it did. And frankly, I'm really glad that they did because of the fact that this is truly a fun ride and a really, really neat piece of old roller coaster history.
There was a point where we looked to catch a ride on Twister, however the line was pretty long, and time was getting a bit short to be able to make it to the bar crawl that evening, so I'll have to reminisce in that woody another time. That left 2 more coasters to ride that had been added since my previous visit, including the tallest coaster of the park, Impulse, a Sierra Tower coaster that offers a vertical lift and a layout that feels like it's inspired by Eurofighters from Gerstlauer, minus the horribly painful over-the-shoulder restraints that the older variations have. But like several of the newer Eurofighters with lap bars instead, it does have some fun moments of hang time, especially in the final barrel roll near the end of the ride, and it offers the park a pretty solid large steel coaster that had been lacking from its collection in the past. It would be neat though for the park to eventually look into adding another steel beast in the future. The final new coaster of their collection was Cosmos Curves, a larger Mylar family coaster that makes some of the forces experienced on similar models they've created a bit more intense, as this replaced the high-speed thrill coaster, which was a fairly wild family coaster that had some unexpected airtime for its size. This ride was a very fitting replacement, and I love its setting alongside of their boat canal.
Definitely not as much time as I would have liked to have spent in the park, but sometimes you just gotta make the most of what you can, especially in a situation when your flight's delayed by a few hours. And if anything else, plenty of reason to come back to Knoebels, and hopefully not wait until 18 years after the fact. But now it's time for me to get back into the car and head back to Philly to meet up with some buzz bars.
As I went back to Philly, the bar crawl was underway pretty soon after I departed from Knoebels, so those who took part got a bit of a head start in the red, white, and brew scavenger hunt, where folks had to find several different items and try different foods and beers of various breweries. By the time I got in, several folks migrated over to Yards Brewing, which became a sort of central meeting location. I gave the Philly Standard Blonde Ale a try, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. but also tried one that I didn't expect to like, as Javi had brought some Crown of the Mountains IPAs from the nearby Decibel Brewing, which was their New England style IPA with mango and habanero. I'm not typically a fan of IPAs, but this one was too interesting to pass. And after Team Possessed was declared the winners of the scavenger hunt, Thomas recommended a nearby bar called Bob and Barbara's Lounge, which felt more like a popular local dive bar, but was an excellent spot for some live jazz music. Having a chance to enjoy some drinks while taking in some tunes was a great way to bring an end to this pre-wobble day, which might have started off on the wrong foot with a long flight delay and some moments of uncertainty. But luckily it all worked out, and I was able to enjoy some time in a classic amusement park with friends before enjoying an evening in Philly with even more. And there was more to come as the buzz bars would descend upon Dorney Park so that we could all wobble on that JAWN. Thank you for watching this video from Coasting with Culture. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click on the subscribe button to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on various social media channels at CoastWCulture for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.